So this is a project that was funded by ArtsLink. It arose out of the experience of Cyclone Yazi. It was intended to be a community project that would invigorate the community, that would lift their spirits. And a mosaic artist, a local mosaic artist, was asked to mastermind this project. The idea came from a local businesswoman who has a great love of her community, who owns the cafe next door, and so together the artist and this business owner came up with this concept. So I was commissioned to plan the history for it, to suggest what might be in each panel, and to write the story for each panel, and to suggest images that could go into each panel, and then the artist used her artistic license to interpret it the way that she chose to interpret it. I love this project because it is a local attempt to tell the story of the locality. What I love about it is that it reached its all beautiful end. It took us, I forgot about it, about a year, I think. I think it was about 3,000 locals, tourists, school groups, people from the nursing homes, all sorts of people helped to create this mosaic in this very laneway. We had our work tables set up. It's done in chronological order and takes us from the indigenous land owners through to the European settlement, through to the opening of the mills, the use of the indentured Melanesian labour, through the various migration stories, through to the wartime stories, through industrial changes up to the 21st century. What I also love about this project is that families were asked to contribute their own stories. So the stories of various sugar farming families and business families are also represented here on the posts. When we started this project, we had a community consultation evening, and various people from different community groups came along. And one of the people who came along, one of the indigenous people who came along, suggested that we incorporate the rainbow serpent into it. And that now has become my favourite bit, because the rainbow serpent goes right through it. It goes through into the army scene, where we have it changing into khaki colours to represent the indigenous soldiers who also fought, and some of the local indigenous soldiers are quite famous. And then towards the end, the rainbow serpent emerges to finish off the story. The other aspects I love is the representation here of the indigenous land, his wife and baby. The shield is an authentic shield taken from research of shields used here in the Herbert River Valley, and the types of artistic influences that the artist used comes from famous artworks. This one came from the screen, and this red is to represent blood and loss and dispossession. The various nationalities that contributed their very hard work include the Chinese and the Melanesian indentured labourers, who were the first cane cutting and labouring force for the sugar industry. Early in cane cutting history in this valley, cane was cut green And so when cane cutters cut their legs or they got blisters, they would get an organism into their skin which would cause a disease called leptospirosis, or Weil's disease. And so the imagery in this mosaic is particularly clever. So the tombstones at the top, you can see old tombstones. That's representing that many men died of Weil's disease before it was ever understood about the disease. The reason they called the leptospirosis is because rats urinated in the cane, and they were the carriers of this particular organism. And so the rat is rather large in this image to represent the effect that this had on cane cutters, because it was killing many cane cutters because they would die these excruciating deaths. And at that time there was no cure for it. The man who helped discover this organism and a way to cure it and a way to, but more particularly, a way to prevent the cane cutters from encountering this organism in the first place was Dr. Morrissey, and he drove a Buick. And so his famous car that he drove all over the district caring for people is pictured there. The cane cutters are pictured there because the Italians led a very significant strike against saying, and they put down their cane knives, and they said they wouldn't work until something was done about it. What the something that they wanted done, because they knew, and Dr. Morrissey supported, was that if you burnt the cane, as in the image next door to this particular image, you effectively sterilised the cane and you killed the organism. So eventually the strike and Dr. Morrissey's studies and investigations together with other doctors resulted in the late 1930s all cane being burnt, and the number of cane cutters dying of leptospirosis went right down. This is another one of my favourite scenes. This is the Hotel Seymour, which is still in business, going on the way to Halifax. And this was a photograph of cane cutters gathered at the hotel after the sign-on, because every season they had to sign on with the mills for cane cutting, and then afterwards they would go to the pub to celebrate having signed on for the cane cutting season. And this shows you the types of local resources we were able to draw upon to create the history in this mosaic. So we drew upon photographs, we drew upon first-person memoirs, we drew upon secondary resources, like I was telling you about the shield. We used anthropological studies. Another favourite part for me is the artistic interpretation. While I enjoyed writing the history, obviously, and researching it from our local collection, and I really enjoyed listening to the artist and her why she used the images that she used. Some of them are not as obvious to the eye until you read the interpretation and you go back and look at the mosaic and look for those little things that she incorporated into the image. Here we are at the beautiful, elegant end of the mosaic that Kate Carr, the mosaic artist, brought this community effort to. Here you see the rainbow serpent reappearing. If you follow the mosaic, you will see that at one point the rainbow serpent comes to an abrupt end, symbolising the dispossession and dispersal of the Indigenous people. It reappeared in the army section when we were representing the Indigenous soldiers who fought alongside the Anglo-Australian soldiers. And then now it has returned in all its powerful strength. And it represents the fact that, and reminding the viewer that the land is a treasure, it's a gift to be treasured in our own time, and that we need to be wise custodians of it and endeavour to live in harmony together, ever respectful of the original inhabitants of this valley who
continue to have a deep spiritual connection with the land.